Welcome back, everybody, to another film room on the channel. Today, we're going to be checking out new Pittsburgh Steelers cornerback Joey Porter Jr., first pick of the second round of the 2023 NFL Draft. I'm going to be going over a couple of films from Ohio State the past two seasons, his matchups against Chris Olave, Marvin Harrison Jr., Garrett Wilson. Really good competition. Going to be showing you guys kind of where he excels as a player, some of the things that he needs to work on as he transitions to the next level. If you guys like this type of content, please consider subscribing to the channel. Make sure you like the video. And without further ado, let's get started. So we're going to start off with the 2021 matchup against Ohio State. This is against Olave and Wilson, two first-round picks. Really good competition. I thought that, Porter Jr. really flashed in this matchup. You look at Porter, 6'2", 6'2" and a half, 193 pounds, 34-inch arms, just an incredible wingspan. Physically, he is built in a lab. And you see some just dominant reps in press coverage. I mean, this rep against Olave is a psycho rep. You see him, he's playing a little kick step technique. He's got an outside read step. He's going to shoot that right arm. Just look how far away he's able to stay from the receiver, but still maintain contact and make that first initial contact with him. And then you see Olave, his head goes backwards just because of how powerful Porter is. And then Porter immediately is just able to basically engulf him with his length. And watch how far he pushes him to the boundary. I mean, this is a split that's well inside the numbers, almost to the hash. And he just drives him out to the sideline. To this point, he's right in the hip pocket. He's in phase. And then Stroud's going to break, contain. Porter does a good job realizing that Olave is breaking off his route in the scramble drill, kind of stumbles but regains his balance. And then in the scramble drill, we just want to plaster the receiver. And that's exactly what Porter does. He kind of gets chest to chest right here, making sure that, he's not going to give up a throw in the back of the end zone. That's a really good rep that forces, Stroud to just basically run out of bounds. A lot has been made about Porter Jr.'s ball production, and this is one of the areas of his game that I think I'm not nearly as concerned about as everyone else. And reps like this are really why, he's not even really set at the line of scrimmage here. Guy comes off sides, so this play doesn't technically count, but still a good rep nonetheless. He's standing straight up, realizes this is a penalty. This is just being an athlete. You're in a compromised position, getting back into phase. Watch him go chest to chest here. That frame of his, he matches up so well in these types of situations to where he's going to be able to contest at the catch point and win these 50-50 reps. Wilson's obviously not a bigger receiver, but you can see Porter just does a good job getting chest to chest, holding his ground, trying to attack the ball at its highest point. And you see that length come up at the catch point. Wilson actually gets his hands in there to knock the ball away, so it's not an interception. But excellent rep there by Garrett Wilson. When you have a big-bodied corner like this, it helps down in the red zone, man. Like having, guys that can close space and operate in these types of situations is a big bonus. Just another rep here where, the ball's not necessarily thrown his way, but another outside read step plan, kick step technique. You see the length, he's going to get a good jam. And immediately what I like here is he's going to transition his hands as he's kick stepping. So he shoots that outside hand right here. And then as he's kick stepping, he gets his left arm on the receiver, in phase. And, as soon as Wilson starts looking back for the ball and starts raising this left hand, Porter's already looking back for the back shoulder window, and he's going to be able to contest that fade ball or the back shoulder. He's in great position. Stroud ends up going elsewhere anyway. But a really nice rep there. One thing I like about Porter, too, in the games that I watched, this is something that I noticed just in watching film tonight. He did a pretty good job against double moves, and Wilson's a really crafty route runner. Uses a lot of fakes, a lot of jab steps, double moves, things of that nature. So you see him come off the ball here, kind of a split release. Porter does a good job, shooting that inside hand, but staying balanced. He's in a good power position right now. And Wilson, has him kind of off balance a little bit here, acting like he's running a little double move, going to come underneath. But watch Porter Jr. just flip his hips and then stay back on top. That's a really impressive rep. I'll play that one more time for you guys. Does a good job. I mean, I don't think he's as stiff as people say either. That's just my opinion. There are some concerns that I have with his footwork that I'm going to get to here in a little bit. But this is another example of him playing off coverage here. I think they're playing little quarters and does a really good job, peeking in the backfield, maintaining that outside leverage. You see him backpedal. Wilson's going to run this poco, little post corner. He does a good job not overcommitting to this post and then flipping his hips. And then you see, just how quickly he's able to close space. And then you see the length at the catch point. I mean, good luck fitting that football in there. Again, down in the red zone, man, this is where I think, you can kind of really weaponize his length. And that's something that I like about his game a lot. Now, just in the first game, I did think that, some of his flaws or things that he needs to work on as a player kind of started to show up on this one as well. Porter Jr., he's really good. He's really comfortable, I should say, in press coverage. The further you get him away from the line of scrimmage, that's just where he doesn't look like the same kind of player, especially from a confidence perspective. Here, he's playing off coverage. And what I don't like here is, he starts to basically just open up the gate. He's not staying square. He turns his shoulders, which, allows Wilson to easily get him turned around here and then break him off for this end breaker. Has a lot of separation. And really, this isn't a very good throw either, but this could have been a really big play if this ball's on time and on the money. But he just has a difficult time operating in space. Like, he's not really comfortable working from a back pedal, and that's something that I think makes him a little bit more scheme specific than some of these other cornerbacks that were in this draft class. This is just not, his typical forte. And I think you see that again here, not necessarily a target. Obviously, he's working at the bottom of the screen. But what I want you to pay attention to is just how high he is in his pedal. He's kind of high, he's definitely high hipped. And, I want to also acknowledge, he's 6'2.5". So he's not going to look like some of these 5'10" corners like my man over here. I don't expect him to look like that, but you see just how high he is. He's almost standing straight up. He's on his heels. And then you see him, when he sees this, they're playing cover 3. So he's responsible for the deep third. But when he sees this receiver break down, he's real leggy in his transitions. Like, look how many steps he takes to transition back downhill. I mean, ideally, what you want to see here is a click and close where it's a plant foot here and a drive. But watch, 1 step, 2 step, 3 step, 4 step, and he's not even running downhill yet. You see what I'm saying? So that's kind of difficult, especially at the next level, where I just think if you get him in off coverage, teams are going to consistently attack that phase of his game. The next year, when they played Ohio State, he has some really good reps here. I thought in press coverage. He definitely wasn't afraid to get in his grill at the line of scrimmage. Really like this one as well. Something that I'll talk about a little bit later in the video is the amount of false steps that you were seeing in his footwork at the line and press. So you see this false step with his right foot, immediately popping that right foot forward. I'll show you guys kind of an example on where that kind of hurts him in some occasions. But basically, he's doing that just to kind of motor out and get balanced. But does a good job, staying on top here and just getting in phase. What I like here too is, he squeezes Harrison to the sideline, shooting his hands, squeeze. He's looking back for the football right now once he's in that back shoulder window while still staying in phase and on top. That's an excellent rep. No space on the sideline for Stroud to even go with that ball, even if he wanted to. And I think his hips are good enough. I wouldn't say that they're necessarily a strength by any means, but I think his hips are good enough to play and press at the next level. And it's reps like this that give me, that kind of belief. This time we don't really get a false step, which makes it easier for him to do these transitions and press. But you see him shoot that outside arm. And then, he's fast enough to keep up with these guys. Harrison, I think, is a really good athlete. He's not necessarily a 4.3 guy, I don't think, but, he's a really good athlete. Porter easily is able to stay hip for hip with him again and, kind of match stride for stride on this go ball. Once he gets up to this 30-yard line, he's going to try to start looking and leaning on that shoulder, leaning outside to make sure that he's in good position down the sideline. And another reason why I'm showing you guys all this stuff of him not getting targeted is because Porter Jr. was only targeted 30 times last season. There's just not a lot of targets his way. He's got that alpha mentality, and he was definitely an alpha dog this past season for Penn State. So teams avoided him pretty much at all cost. But there was definitely some good reps against Marvin Harrison Jr. Again, he kind of pops this inside foot, so we get a little bit of a false step here. But, he has this length, man, to just engulf wide receivers. Even Harrison tries to do a good job of two-hand swiping those hands away. But, look at how far he's pushed him out to the sideline. At this point, Harrison's got one of two options. He's either going to come back and run a stop route, or he's going to be running a go route. And Porter Jr. understands that, and does a good job. You can see his eyes are in the right spot here as well, keeping his eyes down so that he can transition back, especially as Harrison tries to attempt that throw by move to come back for the football. One thing that I don't think Porter gets enough credit for is his explosiveness in short areas. Um, in a backpedal situation, his transitions can be leggy, but when he's just standing still and is already in a plant and drive situation like this right here, he can really explode downhill. Excellent play recognition on this play. He's a really smart player. You'll see him do this from time to time. I saw this in my pre-draft scouting. Good play recognition skills, just like just shooting downhill, a million miles an hour, making a good form tackle, no yards after the catch. But, one of the knocks that I have on Porter and one of the concerns is just that I think his footwork is going to require a little bit of an overhaul at the next level. And what I mean by that is just some of these false steps at the line of scrimmage are going to continue to get him in trouble. And the margin for error at the next level is just so much smaller. Watch him here, step with that inside foot. So it's really subtle that it's hard to notice, but, he's going to get an outside release go here. But since he steps with his inside foot, even though Harrison's clearly, staying square, he is giving no indication that he's going inside. This is just a false step. And by doing this, he's going to lock out his hips, which makes it really difficult for him to kick step and flip his hips to the outside. And you see him right here because he's got to get his foot back in the ground, right? And Harrison's easily, once he gets past his hands, because his feet, aren't in good position. So he tries to jam with two hands right there. Harrison swipes past him, and then he's easily able to get him stacked. And I know that this doesn't look like, just some embarrassing loss, especially against good competition. But these types of plays at the next level, when receivers get you stacked right here, this is pitch and catch for NFL quarterbacks. And not that CJ Stroud is so bum. He's not. But this is NFL open right here. And, he's going to get targeted on plays like this. And this is just an example of, his footwork at the line of scrimmage needs to be cleaned up. And here's another example of a false step, just kind of getting on his heels a little bit. And then I think you can obviously see the second thing that he really needs to work on as he transitions to the next level as well. He's bringing his arms to the fight in his stance, but he does drop his arms immediately. I'm not really sure why he does that. I guess it's just a comfort thing for him. But he's going to pop this left foot. Again, we're not really getting much of an inside jab here. So he's just doing that out of a false step. And you see his hips are automatically going to kind of start turning towards the sideline. But at this point, Harrison's got him on his heels. He's able to beat him underneath. Porter Jr. does a good job to get back in phase right here. So he has a little bit of ability to transition even with that misstep. But then watch his right hand, which is going to go on Harrison's shoulder. This is going to be a flag. I mean, he gets flagged for it here, but this is going to be a flag every single time in the NFL. They just do not allow you to get away with half the contact that you get away with in college. And this was a consistent thing that I saw on film pre-draft. He had 10 penalties in 2021, and a lot of them were just him being really grabby at the break point. And in 2022, he reduced those penalties to 3, which was a significant improvement. But there were still reps where I felt like he was getting away with more contact at the break point than he will at the next level, which is a little bit concerning. And receivers are able to create some separation at the break throughout the route stem. just one more time here. But another thing that I will note just about that explosiveness in short areas, Porter is not in great position here. Obviously, we got a holding penalty, but he does a good job, closing this throwing window. You see him explode downhill, and then his length makes it so difficult to throw his direction because you have to have pinpoint accuracy because he can get those long arms in those throwing windows and knock passes away. So overall, it's a bad rep, but you can still see some of the things that he does particularly well. I wanted to show this one as well. There are times where I just feel like for him, it's just a matter of instinct for him once he gets to the top of the route, just to be too grabby. And even on this play right here, where we get a false step, but he does a good job kick stepping. He's in perfect position right here. If anything, he's almost two over on top, but he's going to be able to, shield this receiver. He's got him in perfect position. You've got the contact key, you've got the receiver pressed up against the sideline. All you've got to do is just match him stride for stride. And Porter Jr. ran a 4.4640. He's fast enough to run stride for stride with this guy. But you see, his hands start to ride up. He starts to grab that shoulder. And because he's grabbing and he's not able to run full speed because he's too busy grabbing on the dude's shoulder pads. And we end up getting an easy penalty. There's like 3 flags that fly immediately after this. So just some of my thoughts on Porter Jr. in general. I think I was really surprised that he was there at 32. He was the number 17 player on my big board. I think that, the clips I showed earlier, his length to just, dominate wide receivers at the line of scrimmage can really be weaponized going forward, especially if you can clean up some of his footwork. But we'll have to just see how that plays out. Coaching scheme is going to matter for him. You want him playing near the line of scrimmage where he's more comfortable. He can play off coverage. I've seen some good cover 2 reps where he, has some good reroute reps. But I don't like him, playing 8 to 10 yards off the ball. I just don't think that that's going to be a very, very beneficial place for him at the next level. But I'm looking forward to getting into even more film of Porter's. I'm going to throw up another film breakdown. I've got a couple more games already downloaded on my laptop for this week after I'm able to get some more sleep. So hopefully you guys like the video. If you did like the video, please consider liking the video and subscribing to the channel for more content just like this one. Let me know what you guys thought of the video, what you guys think of Porter, his fit with the Steelers, and overall, how happy you guys are with the Steelers draft so far. Appreciate you guys for checking it out. Peace.